kuingia kwenye middle income economy. Now, there are two items that I would propose that we look at, in our discussion, because we're looking at celebrating middle income economy, but as well the role of accountants and auditors in that perspective. So there are two elements that I would want to propose we look at. Countries' economic classifications, and then roles of accountants and auditors in an economy. And I believe many of us understand, the concept of economy and the way economy works. But I would suggest to refresh for all of us. So we might probably go back to some kind of theoretical, when we were doing our exams for CPAs and all that, we learned some things. So today or this morning, we might go through just a little bit of that to understand a little bit about this concept of a middle income a country. So we'll jog our minds and as well refresh our memories. So if we put the two concepts together, if we merge the two concepts, how can we find, accountants and auditors in the middle of this? So I will start with classification of economies as done by World Bank, one of the Bretton Woods institution. So first of all, this is done once in a year, and every year it's done. And it's usually based on gross national income per capita in US dollars. We'll get to expand a little bit on this as we go. And World Bank uses a method called Atlas method. That's why I said we're gonna go a little bit into a little bit of theories. And they use exchange rates for 3 years moving average, adjusted with inflation to get the gross national income, as they're working on the gross national income per capita. And it involves 189 countries and 28 other economies. So the way they rank, it's not necessarily a country, but they rank their member countries, which are 189, but also there are roughly 28 other economies that are included in the ranking. And one of the criteria is having a population of above 30,000 people. I'll give you an example of some economies that are included, but they're not countries. So like British Virginia Islands, St. Martin, this is an island in the Caribbean and controlled by France. Isle of Man, in the UK. Those are some of the economies that are included in the classification, but they're not countries. So as we go through this, there are a few terminologies or key terminologies that we need to look at. And I believe most of us are aware of these terminologies, but let's refresh our minds. So the GDP, looking at gross domestic product, and we're talking about this because these are the ones that would influence where you're placed as a country. And so GDP is the total market value of all finished goods and services that are usually produced in the country within a specific period. I think all of us, probably know that. GNI, is a gross national income, and these are total income received in a country by residents and businesses regardless of the location. So World Bank uses GNI, doesn't use GDP, doesn't use GNP. And I've put a summary of the GDP, what makes up GDP, what makes up GNI and GNP. So you will see that from a GDP point of view, these are, and I will expand on the C plus I plus G plus X. These are, consumer, consumptions, investment, government expenditure, and export manners imports. Now, for GNI, these are incomes produced by residents. So those who live outside the country, when they bring money, as long as that money comes in the country, it's counted in the GNI. But a foreign money created in the country, leaving the country, is not counted in the GNI. So just to put that perspective, for us to understand how do we get into a middle, or how classifications are done. Now, the GNI per capita has few elements that determines it. And we have economic growth. That is one fundamental element that influences your GNI per capita. Definitely your population, because you take your GNI, divide by your population. Then with a few adjustments, as I said earlier, of exchange rates and inflation, just to be able to flatten, to smoothen out, the shocks of the economy. So this is what World Bank uses, to run countries. So if you are doing well on the economic growth, certainly you're likely to do well. And one of the elements that I would want also to, it's not done by accountants, it's us as the Tanzanians, our population. I'm not sure if we understand our population is growing very fast. Very, very fast. And I think for the foreseeable future, it will be one of the key elements that will influence how we perform as a country. In 2005, according to World Bank, we had 38.45 million people. In 2018, just 13 years after, according to World Bank, we had 56.3 million people. This is 18 million people in 13 years. 18 million people in 13 years. Roughly, we will double our population every 30 years, almost. Double our population almost every 30 years. And I was looking as well at, demographics, and it's also in my coming book, about Africa. Tanzania by 2100, 2100, it sounds too far. Tutakuwa na watu milioni 300. Can you imagine? Watu milioni 300. So what uchumi wetu ukiwa unakuwa, and the denominator is also growing fast, it means our GNI per capita we grow slower. Unless we grow our economy much faster, than our population. And luckily, this is what is happening. Ndio maana tumemeki progress nzuri mwaka huu kuweza kufikia uchumi wakati. Yeah. Now, just to look at the groups, the way World Bank groups. So, kuna low income countries, kuna lower middle income countries, kuna upper middle income countries, and high income countries. We're lucky this year. This is a big progress for us. That we have stepped in the zone of lower middle income countries. This is a very good progress. If we are able to, and as we celebrate it, as the topic, says, this can influence a lot of things, including more investment, because this gives confidence to the investors that we are heading into a right, trajectory. You will see that kutoka $1,136 ni low income kwenda chini, $1,136 mpaka $4,445 ni lower middle income, then $4,446 mpaka $12,535 ni upper middle income, and then high income from $12,535, categorized as, high income country. So we are in that segment, and it's a very, very good progress for us as a country. Now, I thought as well, selected few groups that, to show, where we're falling and where we're coming from, where we're falling, and probably what is ahead of us. So, mnaona namba 2 hapo, that is a category, that is an average GNI per capita for low-income countries, according to World Bank. And this is the 2020, numbers, July 1st, 2020 numbers. So the average is $792 per person, for low-income countries. And we were falling in this group. We were in this group. So we moved up, in this case, to the third item there, which has average of $2,189 per person. And you'll see the average for sub-Saharan Africa is not very high. It's $1,550 per person, GNI per capita. So the upper middle income is $9,000. The average of the countries that are in that band is $9,074, while high income is $45,307. Now, we have made very good progress moving from the low income band, at least to the lower middle income. And you will see, imagine for the high income country or countries, the average is 45,000, while their band starts from 12,000. That's a very good average. It means in that category, we have very countries that are, well-to-do there. But with this, that shows that we have to, strive. We have to, this should not it's too far, no. We are making progress. Good news, this year we've been able to step into the middle, income. Now, how do we step as a country to grow, faster to get to these other, bands? So, as accountants and auditors, we have a huge role to play to move this forward. Now, let's see the roles that we as accountants and auditors undertake. And, nakumbuka, nafikiri ni CPA maneno jana alisema, mhasibu sio karani. Yeah? Mhasibu sio karani. So I've just put kind of a summary of what we do. And, you can add a few. But what we do is we record, we classify, we summarize, report, and we maintain books of accounts. Yeah? That's part of what we do. And I think most of the time, we are known for this. And a few times we have limited ourselves to this. Now, some other roles that we do taxation, we do audit and investigation, we do investments and risk management. So those are the other roles that are coming in for accountants and auditors. Another is budgeting and planning. We do strategic, business plans for our, businesses and for the government as well. We get involved in that. So these are critical roles that we play. And as we go forward, we're going to ask ourselves how we as accountants and auditors influencing these things. Very, very important. Very, very important. If we stick ourselves, to only this segment, and probably, add this as well, our contribution to the economy will somehow be limited. So how do we influence as well the budget process, the budget itself, from the outside, from the private, those who are in the private sector and those who are in the government? How do we ensure that our planning, is jogging out the economy and growing the economy faster? Another role that we do, and I would really call this as a sacred role, is stewardship and preserve the integrity of the numbers. Jana mlisikia kwamba there are businesses, and nafikiri ni CPA maneno pia alisema, the businesses ambao wanaandaa vitabu viwili vitatu. That's very sad. That's really very sad. We are stewards. We preserve the integrity of the numbers. We are the one to say, this is one and this is not two. Right? And also we take care. They undermine our roles. If you look at the government assets, they're taken care by accountants and auditors. All the business assets, they're taken care of by accountants and auditors. So we play a very significant role in our economy. Now, let's now look at GNI per capita, and GNI specifically, gross national income, in light of probably the roles that we play. And I will expand a little bit here kwa sababu mwanzoni I really just passed by. So the gross national income, as you will see, the first C is the consumption. And this is all consumptions that happen. And the I is investment, and mainly these are the business investments. And then G is for government spending, including the government investments that that government does. X, as I said, this is a net between the export and import. And then R, these are remittances that are coming in, are coming in from outside. So as well, if our economy, if we have a number of Tanzanians outside the country that are bringing money in the country, will contribute to our economy, and specifically a GNI. And P, in this case, these are remittances that are done with the companies that are within, or resident companies, or resident people, foreigners, that will be sending money outside. So that is what makes the GNI. Now, in America, and this is a 2020 April number. These are 2020 April numbers. The individual consumption, the first C, makes 70% of the US economy, GDP. 70% is made up of that C. So if that C is not well taken care of in terms of, the numbers, and most of the consumptions are captured. I work for Coca-Cola. So when you drink soda, we capture. If we are not capturing that, it will affect the numbers that are going to the sea. Business investment contributes for the US 18% of the GDP. So if you take the two, that's 80%. And all these are taken care of and are highly influenced by accountants and auditors. Government spending 17% for the US, and then for 2019 they had a negative net export. So 5% making 100%. So from a government point of view, government plays a key role in influencing, all these parameters, and also collecting, safeguarding, spending, and this is really a great partnership. And all this equation is really taken care of, recorded, reported by accountants and auditors. So for Tanzania to get to a middle income countries, part of the contribution as well, apart from the economic growing, we did a little bit of rebasing of our sectors, and you see 2007 to 2015, the contribution of each sector in the GDP of Tanzania. So, and ask yourselves, I think all of us will be playing a role in each of these sectors. You'll see that the last quarter of 2019, I'm not sure if you can see the numbers there, the mining grew by 21%. These are economic activities growth rates. And these are the ones that are contributing to the economy. But all these numbers are, taken care of by accountants and auditors as well. Then we have transport and infrastructure growing 11% and 80%. Then we have professional services as well, growing 9%. That's very good. Health growing at 8.8. So all these areas, accountants and auditors have played a significant role. These things are not just coming. They've played a very significant role because we make sure that these are accounted for correctly. But as well, not only accounted, we play a key role in influencing that you know, they happen in that fashion. Now, as I said, we have 3 buckets, really. If we want to accelerate, again, our economy, we have the 3 buckets. We have the economic growth, we have the population on the other side, and the inflation and exchange rate. And these are, we leave the lower circle to the economists mostly. But we play a significant role on the economic growth, which is really the engine of driving our progress. This is what drives the progress. This is the base. The other ones are adjusting entries, I would say. So we have seen the role that we play. Recording, classifying, reporting, maintaining books of accounts, taxation, stewardship. But how do we play? Is this sufficient? And this is where we need to challenge ourselves. Are our roles well undertaken? Are we sufficiently, what is our contribution? It's only recording and reporting. How do we influence? We don't only record the past. We work on the present and we influence, very key, the future. If we were setting up a business plan, and for us we normally do 5 years business plan, as a country as well, if we are not influencing what we would like to see, it's very likely that we'll not see it. We'll not have it in the box. We are not people to wait to record numbers. We play a bigger role to influence those numbers before they come. So we don't just want to or need to, record the historical numbers that have happened. There's sales that have happened. But what is my role as well in ensuring that we sell more? To influence those numbers. Very, very important. I will give you an example here. As part of initiative to manage costs, but as well as the Tanzanian to push for investment in the country, we pushed for localization of our suppliers. It helps the business, in saving costs, right? But at the same time, it's helping on the economy. And I'll just tell you, let's say in the bottles that you see, especially plastic bottles for products, we have the closures. So we reached out to, we were importing those. And we reached out to this company and say, there's sufficient market here. Why don't you come and invest here? Yeah? Why don't you come and invest? They agreed, we give you minimum, these are our projections, this everything. And we can even solicit some other suppliers other buyers for you. And they accepted and they came and invested. Now, they are not only selling to us, they're exporting to Zambia, they're exporting to Congo, but this was our initiative. So what role are we playing in, helping to make the progress as a country? As we work for our businesses, as we work in the government. So in our normal course of things, as accountants and auditors, how do we influence, the future results? Very, very important. Growth strategy, very, very important. I don't know if there's anyone here coming from agricultural sector, we say agriculture is very important, right? Very, very important. And, 70% of our population and all that. And it's also part of what I covered in the book. Do we know that in Africa, we hold 60% of the world arable land? 60%. But how much do we contribute to the world output on agriculture? Any guess? Any guess? We contribute 4% of the world's output on agriculture, while we hold 60% of the world's arable land. So now, for us, and we are all over in every sector, right? How do we, venture into these areas? Gold exports for Tanzania, roughly, each year, and these are, BOT numbers, we do roughly 2.6 billion dollars each year. And we've progressed. This year, I think we did 2.6, which is very good. Billions a year. But do we know that Egypt imports maize of 3.5 billion each year? 3.5 billion each year, more by far than the gold that we're exporting. So I'm just jogging our minds the space that we need to play. We need to think differently. And as accountants and auditors in this profession, we have first-hand information of most of these numbers in our respective areas of working. So how do we, as we work towards improving whatever that we are doing, in the course of that, we grow the country as well. And how do we now engage in the planning, in the, sorry. Excuse me. So how do we engage with our plans that we have? We engage the government, this partnership that we're talking about, and from within the government as well, because we are present everywhere, in making sure that we accelerate our businesses, we accelerate, as a country. We have a substantial role, to play. So engaging is very important. And I think one of the areas that we have been lagging behind as accountants and auditors is really engaging. We lock ourselves in our rooms and, we die with our numbers, with our computers, and CPA and ACCA Sanjay will talk about networking. It's so important. I think one of the professions that people don't really engage so much because we are so busy, it's ours. And we need to come out of that. From at a personal level to the business level, as a country, how are we engaging in the process? How much did we participate in the 2025, strategic plan, or 2030? strategic plan. How much do we participate? And if we don't participate, it will be still done, but it will be done by others. Our inputs will be lacking. So it's very, very important we venture into that. And as I almost come to an end, now, is our role, our contribution recognized? So we need, like I said, we need to participate more. We know that, and we can be proud. We do all the numbers, right? We do all the numbers. But until we influence, we do more. Our recognition will only go as far as we do as professionals. Mzee wangu yule architect, naona ameondoka. Asante. Asante. Wao wakifanya vitu vinaonekana faster. Yeah? Ours are in the either papers or in soft. Like this building, we appreciate. So theirs, they probably don't have to do much. I mean, things speak for themselves. But we also play a role in their field. We are everywhere. So how do we really make sure that we are participating more, engaging more? And also, apart from the CPDs and programs that are done by MBAA, and thank you so very much for the TAA as well for organizing this. We need to be coming together more to learn from each other, to network. So these are the things that will make our contributions more recognized. Now, there's a saying, and I'm not sure who said this: behind every good business is a great accountant. Do we agree? Behind every good business is a great accountant. And accountant meaning including the auditors and other key players as well. Now, what about for the economy? We only think accountants and limited in their influence is only in the business. What about in our economy? Within the government, we play a key role as well. So can I say or suggest, behind every good economy, are the great accountants and auditors? Yeah? So, as I wind up, because we normally take ourselves so seriously, I've put one or two, I don't know if I should call them jokes. This is only when we relax, when we balance our numbers, right? Tired, exhausted, that's when we relax. Probably some other time, if we don't spend 80 hours, and this is like 16 hours working a day, to get the 8 hours per week, it's when we're doing tax, tax. So we actually contribute a lot, to our economy. And probably one of the last, if you take coffee and math, you can make accounting, right? That we should be relaxing as we do our maths. But most importantly, we are accountants and not magicians. And magicians are the ones that they will do 2 or 3 sets of accounts, taking one here, taking one there. And we're not supposed to be that. Those are not accountants. Those are magicians, because you can play up with numbers. Accountants don't, right? And lastly, I will say, collectively, we can only be as good as we are individually. If we are good as individuals, the collective force of us will be better. So, and that's why we need to come together. In sessions like this, very important. MBAA does a lot of sessions for us, and the regulators. The more we become better and contribute individually, the more we become better, collectively. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mkuu. I think you'll agree with me that Mr. Mkuu has attempted to answer the question as to whether our role in promoting the middle income status of this country and beyond. First of all, is it being well done by us, and is it recognized? I think he has more challenged us than answered that we do. And I think he's indicted us that we are not doing enough. And this seems to be the running theme since yesterday. We've been talking about not being the leaders we should be, and we've been talking about not participating in policy formulation and so on. So you reserve your comments. After this, we are going to have a panel discussion, and after which we shall have questions and comments and answers. The next paper will be presented by Mr. Sanjay Rugani. Now, I think it needs no introduction. This fellow is known so much by accountants, and I've seen him presenting papers so often that, but just to give you a little bit about Sanjay. Sanjay he serves on the chair of the IFAC Professional Accountants and Business Advisory Group. He was nominated to this position in 2015 by the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA. Sanjay is a fellow of ACCA. Sanjay is the CEO of Standard Chartered Tanzania. His professional credentials, including being a chartered accountant, is a fellow of the Institute of Information Management Africa of Nigeria, management post-graduation in human resource development and Bachelor of Commerce, is also a qualified trainer and sponsor of the HIV and AIDS program for Standard Chartered Bank. Sanjay holds various governance representations, including is the CEO is the chairman of the CEO Roundtable, Tanzania. Is the vice chairman of Tanzania Bankers Association. Is a non-executive director of Tanzania Private Sector Foundation, executive member of the National Business Council, trustee of UDOM Endowment Fund, and non-executive director of the Association of Tanzania Employers. I think I could go on and on, and without wanting to tire you, Sanjay is going to present paper. Is going to make a presentation on networking for professionals and career advancement, what it means and why it is important. Please put your hands together for Sanjay. Karibu.
Teknolojia itafanya kazi? Jamani, hamjambo? You know, talking about networking, when Mheshimiwa said so much about me, actually scares everybody, is it not? That the guy has done so much already, then he can talk anything. Ausio. My dear friend, you actually spoke very, very well. I don't think everybody did justice to you. Jamani, mpigie makofi. You know, the amount of information there, and I think the push to the professionals was very important. I actually was hoping there's going to be many, many more people here, but we are few. And I can tell you our lives will change, you know, with what we've learned from our friend, but what we will talk about. So it's very interesting. I received a call from the TA boss. Sorry, my wife is trying to call me. But you accountants are more important at the moment. I hope I'm not on national television, yeah? Yeah, great. So it's very interesting that I, for the first time, am asked to talk about networking. And I was like, who told you to talk to me about networking? And it's this young gentleman who I think has cornered me. But I have Sandra here, who I meet all over the world talking about blockchain and accountancy and amazing things. The reason I'm talking to you about Sandra is if you don't know her, we are not networked. And we are talking about networking. So let me start by saying, what is networking? Networking is a proactive process. It's a proactive process of meeting people to learn and to serve. How many of you knew that? It's a proactive process of meeting people to learn and to serve. How many of us think that when we want to network, we want to get something? How many of us? So, you know, because I'm talking about networking, leo tutaongea kwa kipamoja, and I want some participation. Tuko pamoja? Hebu nione mikono juu zote. Basi wote hawajalala. Ni vizuri sana. Sasa, talking about networking, why do you want me to talk about networking? You know, number one, I'm a banker. When I'm a banker, everybody knows wewe anataka hela, au sio? Sasa ataongea nini? Lazima aongee mambo matamu, au sio? Networking is kawaida kwake. The second thing is, like he said, I was an auditor and I'm an accountant. How many people want to network with accountants? Hata lugha yetu ni ngumu. IFRS, IAS 39, standards, taxes. We are very boring people. So today I'm going to tell us how we changed not to be boring. Au sio kidogo? Alafu, mimi ni Mtanzania. Mimi ni Mtanzania. Baba wangu amezaliwa Zanzibar, mimi mwenyewe nimezaliwa Mbeya. Lakini mara nyingine ukiona ngozi yangu mtasema, Muhindi huyu. Kwa nini ya network na wenzetu? So it's also about perception. So why network with me? And then there's very many nice people here. You know, I'm not going to talk accountancy today. We are talking networking, au sio? I'm also not looking sexy. So why does somebody want to network with me? Is that correct? So my friend, why do you put me in this problem to talk about networking? You also are writing a book. I'm not writing a book. And you asked me to talk about networking, which is amazing. So I just wanted to give you the concept on networking is an art. And if you have actually become a CPA, then you have done 5,000 or 50,000 more work than doing networking. But clearly, networking is not easy because we don't put mind to it. We don't have a structure. We don't have a model. I also want to tell you that, assuming we are 300-400 people in this room, one of the common problems we have in our mind is everybody will like us. And when you ask yourself, do you like everybody? We don't seem to ask that questions to ourselves. So I just want to tell you, because you're accountants, that less than 1/3 of the people in this room like you. Your role is to find those that are less than 1/3 and connect with them, because that's the only way you will network. I also want to tell you that actually it's very interesting. When you talk about networking, Mheshimiwa, nowadays, how many of you are millennials? Can I see a show of hands? Millennials, watu wadogo kabisa. Millennials, wachache sana, eh? Yesterday I met a millennial and I asked him, so how's your day? He said, fine. I said, tomorrow I'm having a very exciting time. He asked me, what are you doing, sir? I said, I'm going to talk about networking. He said, bas leo nikwambie kabisa, I've been networking for 11 hours. I said, you've been networking for 11 hours? What did you do? He said, asubuhi nimeamka, nilikuwa na internet nzuri, nimeingia kwenye LinkedIn, 11 hours on LinkedIn. Imagine how much I networked. Is that called networking? So we are going to talk about personal networking, because there is social networking also. And many times, unless you have good content or good insights or good information, social networking is really not connected networking. I also want to tell you a little bit more about myself. Networking for me has been a long, many years of work, not knowing that I'm actually networking. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story. But I've worked in 7 different countries, and I've actually visited 32 countries. So when I go to those countries, I also look at the culture. Do people network? Do they want to talk to you? Do they want to question you? And I want to tell you that, amongst the countries that are very poor in networking, Tanzania is one of them. Tanzania is one of them, which is sad, because we are very warm people. As human beings, we are not arrogant. We are very humble people. But yet, we network very little, because we sometimes are very uncomfortable. We are uncomfortable because we have a culture, the way we grew up in this country, sometimes you become uncomfortable, is it not? What is amazing is, even as accountants and CPAs, we are comfortable being uncomfortable, And that needs to change. That needs to change. So I also want to tell you that I have a lovely assistant here, Delilah. Delilah, actually, why don't you stand up? We said we're going to make this interactive. So you did stand up, yeah? Sorry, I was looking there. So, 2-3 days ago, I was in the office and I said, Erastus, my friend, has fixed me into this. Why don't you think about what I do in networking and create the slides? So the slides that you will see today are a makeup of what she thinks I do in networking, which was pretty good, and what I actually want to tell you. What was very interesting is, normally my presentations are all about pictures. When I'm talking about networking, I talk about it with pictures. And she put a lot of words. So we'll go through Delilah's words, which are also very important for us, and what I have to talk to you. Does that work, Delilah? Great, so we're together. So you saw that picture behind? Naona hiyo picha ya watoto? Can you see that picture? Wangapi tunaiona picha? Safi. The reason why I put that picture is networking with the kids is the hardest thing. They don't care this guy is a CEO. They don't care whether he's an IFAC chair in something. They really don't care if he's the chairman of CEO Roundtable. Is that right? Kids don't care. If you tell them, I'm this, atakuangalia, atasema umeongea nini. So, I put that picture for a reason that, it's a lot of hard work. And I could achieve those kind of lovely emotions with kids. So sometimes just think about it, that you're not, when you're networking, it's not about who you are. It's about what your purpose is. What do you want to achieve? And we'll get into a little bit of that. Now, if you like what I present today, I just want to tell you a few things. I'm on Twitter. I know many of us cannot get Twitter nowadays, so it's S. Rugani on Twitter. Because I'm networking, that's what I'm talking about. I've also been, last couple of weeks, I am on the Tanzania Consumer Choice Awards as the top male CEO. So if you like what I'm saying, you can go and vote. And I'm telling you because I'm networking, is it right? This is very important to tell you. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook. I do a little bit of Instagram. I know it's very popular here. So I think those are the things I do. But besides that, what I really love is personal networking, meeting each other. Great. My personal presentation is one slide. Everything else will be Dalaila's presentation. So let's start with this. When I started to grow up, I hope there was a mic that I could stand and walk. Kuna mic ambayo tunaweza kutembea nayo? Okay. So when I started to grow in life, like I said, mimi ni Mnyakyusa, nimezaliwa Mbeya. So at the age of 4 is the first time kwamba nimerealize kwamba, there is something called connections. Sikuelewa networking. How many of us know that our parents spent a lot of time with friends? Wazazi wamekaa na wazazi wengi kwa kipamoja, marafiki wengi, shuleni tunaongea, tunaimba. So for me, I didn't know what is networking. I thought connections. And I just thought human beings are supposed to have connections. Is it right? Is that what you all grew up with? You go to church, you go to, schools. Wenzetu wengi, au sio? But how many of you have stuck with many, many people you grew up with? I'm sure many of you have. And if you think that is networking, what are you getting from them? And what are you giving to them? Is that right? So networking, like I said, is about a purpose. You have to be serving in the relationship. When you serve, you get served. It's about mutual benefits. Tuko pamoja? Yeah? Good. I don't know why people sit so far. Why do you sit there? Imagine if you want to be my friend, how will I ever become your friend? I'm just telling you, you have a choice. Mnaweza kuja mbele kidogo. In our culture also in Tanzania, being a Tanzanian myself, if this was India, wote wangeka hapa. If this was UK, they would be fighting who sits in the front. If this was Ghana again, it will be a few different castes, they will sit together. In Kenya also. But we tend to sit behind. Even when I came in, I sat there and my assistant sat behind. I didn't tell her to do that. But it's a culture. How will you network like that? And these are accountants. You are chartered accountants. You know that when you look at the balance sheet, you want to see the assets. Now, if the assets are so far, how will I see the assets? Do you consider yourself an asset? How many of you consider yourself an asset? Erastus, are you an asset? I am an asset. Typically, the liabilities are what sits there. I just want to let you know from today. Yeah? Great. So let's move forward. My dad's philosophy. When I was 14 years old, my dad sat with me one day and he said, your network is your net worth. We're accountants, yeah? My dad was also an accountant. He said, your network is your net worth. Yeah, it's your asset. Is that right? Because you may have all the money in the world, but if you don't know the person to go to, what will you do with the money? You may have all the intentions, but if you don't know who's going to support you? What will you do? So your network is your net worth. So talking to my dad, he had 4 points of how you should network. And that's the first time I got to know what is networking. So my dad said, the way to network is you either have to make so much money. So you make a lot of money and people will want to connect with you. But your model of networking should be you have money and you know how people make money. Because everybody who makes money is solving some problems, is achieving something. So if you know those people, then you are networking. Does it make sense? Tuko pamoja? Good. So that was his first rule. Now I looked at myself and I said, do I really want to be rich? And nowadays I'm also thinking, we have Donald Trump who is so rich. How many people like him? Some people, oh, you raised his hands, yeah? Great, you do, I know. That's great. I know it all. Great. So the other thing my dad said is food, chakula. How many of you like to eat food? Nani anapenda kula chakula? We all like to eat food, huh? Great. So my dad said, the more you know about food and the different types of foods, the more people will connect with you. Imagine if you like Mexican, you like Thai food, you like Japanese food, And if I can talk about all those foods, rafiki yangu, chakula, tumbo ina shida au sio? So tukiongea mambo za chakula, people will connect with you. Do you understand? Ni muhimu sana. His third way of networking was about information and intelligence. Now remember, when I was 14, there was no Google. Sawa? Mheshimiwa hapa amesema ni CPA number 004. Yaani tumemwangalia tu, hebu tumpigie makofi 004 bana. Sasa, baba aliniambia, you have to have knowledge. Unajua watu wanakaa library siku nzima, information. Ukiwa na information watu watakutafuta. Maana kama kuna shida wewe ndio dawa au sio? So information knowledge is very critical. And in those days we had many people who could speculate anything. Nowadays with Google you go and search, au sio? Even today information is very important. Even today information is very important. The more information you have, Erastus had so much information, that is why he was talking. Is that right? Information is power. Sawa. And the last thing my dad told me is it's about languages. If you like to go abroad, or let's say I go to every, nikienda Dodoma, nikiongea pale lugha yao, nikienda Mwanza, nikiongea Kihaya kidogo, nikienda Moshi niongee lugha ile, nikirudi nyumbani niongee lugha ile. People will like me, is it right? Because I'm talking to them in their own language. Now I told you, I've traveled so much. I today speak 8 languages very fluently. 8 languages is what I speak very fluently. And that is the route I chose because my dad told me. Tuko pamoja? Yeah, it's very hard work, but for me that was the easiest one. I knew I was not going to be rich. I didn't want to get into becoming a mpishi. I didn't know too much food. Yeah, I knew I had information, but not that much. Because every time my dad was listen to BBC when I was very young, I would say, man, which world is this? I was a very poor African. I'm sure many of you have those recollections. Is it not, Mheshimiwa? Tunasikia radio ya kiajabu, sijui anaongea nini, BBC World Service. This is the news. Yeah, and then they talk about these global relationships and the amounts they talk, and I'm like, I was 4 years old since then. My dad had such a big radio. And I was thinking, what is this guy listening to? So really, I'm not going to get to that knowledge. So I chose the route of languages. Tuko pamoja. So that was my dad's philosophy. At that time, like I said, I was thinking about connections, but the reality was, it was networking. Now my mom, I have a story about my mom. My mom studied till standard 10. And I know, how many of you think in Tanzania, how many of us think that 50% of Tanzanians finish university? In Tanzania, the rate at which we finish university is very, very limited. I think at the moment is what, 4 or 5% of Tanzanians? 1 million students get out of education every year, but not many finish university because we all get into agriculture. So I really liked what you said, because we need to optimize on our resources. As a country, we are abundantly blessed with our resources, and we need to optimize on them. So I'm going to go a little bit fast because I still have to show you Dalila's slides. My mom. How many of you love your mom? Nani anampenda mama? I say huyu jamaa, swala umeisikia? Maana wote wanakuangalia wewe. Yeah? We all love our mom, au sio? So my mom studied only standard 10. But my mom in Mbeya, my mom was from India. My daddy is from Zanzibar. And that's why I'm very unique. I have this diversity within me. My mom, who did not know a lot of Swahili, and she was learning by the day, could actually connect and talk to anybody. She met the regional commissioner. At that time it was Mheshimiwa Mramba. She would talk to him, and they would laugh. And half the time she would speak very broken Swahili. But they would connect. She went to the principal in the school, and they would connect. So I was like admiring my mom because she had this unique ability to connect. I was thinking, what's this magic? Because I was finding it too hard. And I'm going to tell you my story, why I was finding it too hard to connect. Yeah? So I want to tell you what my mom's philosophy was. Magic, I call it. So my mom's magic, and because I spent time with her understanding that, was a concept called commonness. Yeah? Please write this in life. Commonness. Commonness is very, very important to network. Let's play a game. How many of you have a Toyota car? How many of you have a Toyota car? Quite a few. Is that right? How many of you have traveled by bus? Many of you? How many of you are CPAs? Great. How many of you have 2 children? Great. How many of you have shoe size number 7? Viatu number 7? Okay. Great. So you can see commonness. Yeah. If I have to talk to Mheshimiwa, I'll say, oh, by the way, your shoe size and my shoe size is same. He'll be very happy. Yeah. Nikimpata Mnyakyusa hapa, tutaongea paka kesho asubuhi, au sio? Hanijui, mimi simjui. Commonness. Mesikia hiyo lugha? Commonness. How many of you have traveled outside Tanzania? You see? This is great. In this room, it's about 40%. So there's 40% of you who can connect today and talk about ulienda wapi, mimi nilienda hapa. Kumbe tulienda pamoja Accra. So commonness. Tuko pamoja? I did ask one guy a question. He loved Trump. But how many of you hate Trump? There's quite a few. Anyway, that's good. I could easily have asked how many of us support CCM. Guys. Anyway, what I want to tell you is, as we are thinking about commonness, because you're all CPAs, you'll not ask the questions that I have just talked about. They are also good questions. If you want to connect with children, watoto, those are the kind of questions you have to ask. Rangi gani unaipenda? Au sio? Picha gani unaipenda? Mchezo gani unapenda? But as we elevate to our level, the thing that connects everybody in life is either dreams or fears. Either dreams or fears. Let's talk about a few. How many of you want to travel the world? Wow. Can you imagine if you go to anybody and say, oh, I know you want to travel the world. Do you want to travel the world? You can start talking. Is it right? Commonness. Tuko pamoja? How many of you want to become more healthy? Everybody wants to become more healthy, which is great. How many of us want to lose weight? I want to lose weight. So I have many friends here. Is that right? Commonness. How many of us want to meet the president? Some have not put their hands up. How many of you want to surprise somebody? How many of you want to surprise somebody? Great. If you find what I'm talking to you is good today, please call your mother or your father and tell them you love them, and you will surprise them. Sawa? Tuko pamoja? Good. How many of you want to make a difference in somebody else's life? Great. This is what Tanzania is all about. This is what we stand for. So if you found out what you want to do and what I want to do, and if it's common, you are connected. Is it right? Yeah? How many of you like falling sick? You see, nobody likes falling sick. Is that right? But there is a commonness. Nobody likes falling sick. Now I'm talking about the fears, not the dreams. How many of you want to stand on this stage and sing to everybody? There's a fear, is it right? Guys, I'm talking to you about networking. Imagine the fear I have, I'm standing on a stage. Yeah? It's not difficult. It's about planning. Tuko pamoja? I think lastly, public speaking. He did a great job. But how many of us really want to do public speaking? Put you in front of 1,000 people, 5,000 people. So we either buy few of you, great. So that is commonness. We either buy dreams, for you it's a dream, or we buy fears. Is that right? In life. So if you can identify, have your conversation about dreams, or have your conversations about fears, you create commonness. Tuko pamoja? Are you learning something? How many of you are learning something today? Great. Mheshimiwa 004 is also saying great. That's nice. So finally, commonness. Let's talk about our profession, yeah? How many of you are extremely committed to understanding what is blockchain? Yeah? Very few, which is good. How many of you have ever spent time on understanding what is integrated reporting and have actually done it? Very few again. How many of you are understanding the future of work? If you go to World Economic Forum research, it says by 2023, 68% of what an accountant does is going to be automated. How many of you have taken time to understand what will be automated and what will not be automated, so you start spending more time on things that are not automated? Okay, maybe 3%. Yeah. How many of you think the education system in Tanzania is irrelevant? Many of you? Now, you do realize I'm already connecting you with commonness. Is that right? There are a few people here who are, wanting to be involved in blockchain, integrated reporting, future of work. I just want to warn you, if you are not thinking about technology, you're already outdated. Your shelf life has finished. Technology is eating our life by day. But I'm just creating commonness. And I'm also warning you, because you can create commonness through dreams or fears. Is that right? Tuko pamoja? Great. How many of you feel the world is moving so fast nowadays? Wow, many of you. You know what's the good news? This is the slowest it can get. From tomorrow it's more faster, and more faster, and more faster. So spend time on things that are going to take you also more faster. Tuko pamoja? Good. So now you understand my mother's magic? Yeah? You can practice my dad's philosophy or my mother's magic, and you will network. Sawa sawa? Like me and Sandra, we met in Morocco for the first time. Is that correct? And do you know why I had commonness with Sandra? This girl had a snake on her neck. Unakumbuka Sandra? Uliweka nyoka. And I'm looking at her and I'm saying, huyu mtoto kutoka Tanzania amekaa na nyoka. Sijui huyu nyoka anatoka Mbeya au anatoka wapi? So I created a commonness. Remember Sandra? Good. Don't get scared of her. She's an amazing human being, yeah? Good. Anyway, so finally, who am I? And I thought it's very important because this is what links to Tanzania. You know, the fact about being comfortable to be uncomfortable. So when I was 14 years old, I want to tell you my personal story. When I was 14 years old, from the age of maybe 7, I got something called asthma. How many of you have had asthma? I'm trying to create commonness. So nobody has had asthma. Asthma is very serious. You know, from a health perspective, if you are very young and you have asthma or you're old, it actually constrains you. You know, there are so many things you want to do in life that you can't do because you don't have the energy. You know, it's a condition that impacts your lifestyle. And I had chronic asthma. So from the age of 7, I was given steroids. How many of you have heard of steroids? Accountants. There's a lot of information we need to learn. Huh? So when you get steroids, your body expands. So when I was 14 years old, I was 94 kilos. How many kilos? 94 kilos. Now imagine, coming from there, very little knowledge about food, as my father had told me, very little information, not from this world, 94 kilos, can't run properly, can't play sports, you know. Imagine how I was even going to talk to a girl if I had to network. Ilikuwa ngumu. It was tough. It was very tough. So if you think you are worried and you are scared of networking, imagine what I was thinking. Everybody in this room is much better than what I was at the age of 14. Is that right? You know, when I go to school, natafuta tu wale watu wangu wachache ambao wanani respect, alafu naenda kukaa nao. How many of you like to just spend time with people you love? How many of us spend a lot of time with people every day, people who we are very comfortable with? Many of us. Actually, 98% of Tanzanians spend time with people who they are very comfortable with. You know, people who don't challenge them. People who really don't add a lot of value to them, but tunaongea tu, unakaa naye, unasema mshikaji vipi? Tunaanza hapa. Every single day you can talk the same thing for 4 hours. You know, jana umesikia nini? Mmepika nini? I say umevaa vizuri. You know, we can actually talk that for a long time. Not accountants. Accountants are not supposed to do that. As Erastus said, you have to help this country to become more than a middle income country. And the journey is a long journey. You are very privileged. Use your privilege by connecting with people who can challenge you. People who can add value to you. But also, you can add value to them. Sawa? So from the age of 14, I had to think about my life and I had to ask myself, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is Sanjay? And I know a lot of people don't do this work. You have to ask yourself, who are you? Because we always run. Because Sandra went there, wote tutakimbia pale. Because Mheshimiwa went there, wote tutakimbia pale. Who are you? Why are you running around? So I defined 4 lives of myself, and we all have 4 lives. My first life was me and my school when I was young. Now it is me and my office, my workplace. My second life was me and my friends and my family. That was my second life. Me and my friends and my family. The third life was me and me. What am I going to do about me? Where do I want to reach? What am I going to learn? You know, nobody's going to stop me with my dreams. Have you even defined what your personal dreams are? How are you going to look? How are you going to get healthy? How are you going to get intelligent? How are you going to use this whole CPA you have done to really make impact other than just going to work? And then the last life that I defined was me and the community. I saw that 98% of us raised their hands to say, I want to serve somebody, I want to impact somebody. So that's life. That's community. You are the most able people. I am the most able person. So we really have to impact communities. As I defined those things, and I used my mother's philosophy of commonness, I wasn't fat anymore. I found enough people who could connect with me. I wasn't unhealthy anymore. I know I was going to work on it, but I had enough things to connect people with. Tuko pamoja? Yeah? That's the power of networking. So if kama wewe ni mwoga, if you're feeling shy, you should remember that 94 kilo Sanjay at the age of 14 who was completely stressed, and if he can do it, you can do it much better. Sawa? Is it right? Great. So this is my presentation. I'm now taking you to Dalila's presentation. Very quickly, why do you network? Now, many of us already know this, so I'm going to touch on the most important things on why you network. I'm not going to talk about it builds connections, confidence, good ideas. I'm going to talk about the last three things on this slide. The last three things are to differentiate yourself. I told you, if you define yourself with your 4 lives, you are a very different person to me. Is that correct? Everybody here is different from each other. Is that correct? How many people know you are different? You have to use yourself to differentiate yourself. Tuko pamoja? Good. The next one is to nurture your hobbies and passion. Many times we are doing things in life that are not really linked to our passion. So you really have to find those people that you can spend time with. Like I love spending time with my friend Erastus here because we nurture each other. You know, we have very little things in common, but we have passion together. Do you get it? I love my time with Sandra, even if I meet her anywhere, even if it's 2 minutes of chat, because I have a passion connected to her. Is that correct? Yeah? So you need to nurture your hobbies or your passion. And finally, maximize on your privilege. Do you know how many accountants are there in Tanzania? 10,000. Out of 60 million people. Do you understand that you are so privileged? How are you using your privilege? You need to train people on financial literacy, basic money management. You know, 99.4% of Tanzanians can be challenged on money management matters. You are all privileged individuals. Now, I'm not saying completely challenged, but I think where you sit, you are much more privileged. Does it make sense? Yeah? So use your privilege, the education. Becoming a CPA is not easy. Tell people what a CPA can do, how he can contribute to sustainable goals, how he can contribute to a middle income status country. Yeah? So to use your privilege. Next slide. There's a lot of things to do to prepare for networking. And I'm going to circulate this slide so you can spend time on it on yourself. But I think the first thing is you have to identify your venues. Where are you going to network? Mheshimiwa said, I am part of CEO Roundtable, Tanzania Bankers Association, Tanzania Association of Tanzanian Employers, IFEC. I decided that's my venue. You all can decide. The person who has to cross the bridge in your mind first is you. You will not be asked, come. You have to say, I'm going there. Does it make sense? Good. You also need to know your introduction lines, elevator pitch. I see a lot of people who come to me and say, VP. I say, VP. Naitwa Hamadi. Hamadi, VP. And what? In my mind, if you are not engaging me in 6 seconds, that's the level at which we have become now. The span of concentration is now 6 seconds. If within 6 seconds you have not told me something that is important, utaondoka. Au sio? Because human beings are very fast to make judgment. It's not that I have a choice. That's how I am made. The world is too fast. Do you get it? So if you start telling me, vipi mheshimiwa, nakuona kila siku, unaniona, naona uko fiti bana, endelea. You're not here to spend time with me on that. Is that right? You need to have an elevator pitch. So, listen more and talk less. When you're meeting people and you want to connect, you have to listen more and talk less. It doesn't mean that when I'm talking, you just have to listen. You can ask me questions. But the point is, the only way for you to listen more and talk less is to have some intelligent questions. If you ask somebody about commonness, people will continue to talk and you'll listen. I've taught you commonness today. Yeah? I think the last one is there, that if you can't do many of these things, then use the route that my mom and dad used. It says there on the slide. Now, I'm just going to touch on, I was using another slide. I think I confused. What was on the screen is how do you prepare for networking? And like I said, you need to have a place where you want to go and talk. I think the last point is very important, which is when you are talking to somebody to network, you should think, everybody knows what is a relationship. What is my relationship with him? What is my relationship with her? Is when I met her, in my mind I was, what am I going to give her? When I met him, in my mind I was thinking, what am I going to give him? A great relationship is born when you are ready to serve the relationship. It's not a get-get relationship. Many people just want to network because they want to get. That is not a relationship. That is not a network at all. That's just a one-off connection. Ambayo haina maana. Tuko pamoja? Good. I'm just going to jump to the next slide. And I said how to network, is about finding the right place. And I'm going to touch the last thing. If you don't know how to network, you can now use my mom and dad's strategy. Just spend 2 minutes on LinkedIn or social media. Social media doesn't connect you people to people. It is one of the, unless you have really mastered it, it is one of the poorest form of networking. I know many of my friends have, 3,000 people connected to them on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever. If you are becoming an influencer, like, if I write something, I'll soon see 10,000 people visit my site or look at me, But till you get there, and unless that is your determination, it's not a fluke. You really don't network. But if you are networking on social media, one of the best ways to network is to write your thoughts. Don't just forward things, don't just like things. Put your comments on what you learned or what else you can add to the content. The more you can add to the content on social media, you are actually networking. Tuko pamoja? Yeah? Great. I won't spend time on do's and don'ts of networking. I think a lot of it is already covered. Impact of good networking, friendships. Sandra, I love you. Friendships, connections, Erastus, referrals. I'm sure 004 is going to refer me everywhere from now onwards. Even though he's seen me for the first time talking about something other than accounting. Is that right? Good. It enhances opportunities. It gives you more opportunities. It raises your profile. If you network, it raises your profile. This is very important. Half the time, people will connect with you based on who you spend time with. Half the time, people connect with you based on who you spend time with. So if you're spending most of your time with people you just, those common people in your life, then you're not networking because people don't know where you're going to connect. Is that right? So if you spend more time with him or Mheshimiwa, then people will start connecting with you. Oh, he or she has something to offer. Sawa. That's how mind thinks. It's also about satisfying and helping others. It's about getting more advice and knowledge. So I don't read a lot. Because I already have so much work. Just the number of emails I read every day is equal to 400 pages of reading. Just numbers of emails. So when will I read a book? When will I read a magazine? So I read a magazine because someone like Sandra told me, this is a great one. But up until I have a friend who tells me, I won't just go and buy a book and read. So I have networks because I know, Sandra, if I want to read about blockchain, which book do I buy? And then she will tell me, because she has touched everything to go with blockchain. So if you connect the right people, then you can really get much more advice. And it creates much more efficiency in your life. Yeah? Otherwise, it's a hit and a miss game. And most of us have a hit and a miss game very, very many times. Tuko pamoja? Great. And finally, the impact of good networking is someday you'll also become a speaker like me, if it works. Sawa? Great. Ladies and gentlemen, my amazing accountants, I hope I've taught you something today and you have something to take back at home. I know we didn't touch IFRS, IAS, IPSAS, and all those lovely things in our life. But I do want to tell you that if you liked what I said, I am on Twitter. I am also chosen in the Consumer Choice Awards at the moment as one of the leading CEOs, so you can go and vote for me. But otherwise, if you have learned something from me, please go and call your dad or your mom and say, I love you. God bless you.
Yamani, this fellow is fantastic, isn't it? He simply said, when you network with a purpose. Ukiingia kwenye mitandao, si ndio hiyo tunaingia ya Facebook na nini, you post pictures and what other people have said, you are not really networking. Kwa hiyo tumpigie makofi tena. Thank you, Sanjay. Now, what we'll do, we are going to have two discussants, and they are going to remember the first topic was about the role of accountants and auditors in the middle income, the way we get to the middle income economy, and whether it is being well done and recognized. And the second topic is about networking. So I'm going to call Madam Rukia Abdullah. Rukia is Finance and Administration Manager of the Road Fund of Zanzibar. Rukia, please come forward. And Bertha Sia Patrick. She's an auditor and she's owning a firm called African Mark Services. Karibu. The process will be as follows. Do you want to start? Rukia will start, and she will treat both subjects. I think they are connected. The two subjects are connected, so it will be easier for you to comment on both of them. So Rukia will start, and then Bertha Asia will follow. Remember, should I repeat the topics? The topics are, the first one is celebrating middle income economy. Is the accountants and auditors' role well undertaken and recognized? And the second topic is networking for professional and career advancement, what it means and why it is important. So Rukia, please go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Asante mwenyekiti. Jamani, habari za asubuhi. Asante. Kama kwanza kunachukua fursa hii kukupongeza CPM Tui kwa presentation nzuri, au kwa pamoja niwapongeza kwa kusave time pia CPA Ruhani. Kwa kweli zote zilikuwa ni nice presentation and very tasty presentation. Yeah. Kwa hivyo kwa kwenda kwenye topic yetu ya mwanzo ya kucelebrate uchumi wa kati, sisi accountants and auditor tuna mchango gani au tumekuwa recognized. Mambo ya data mengi kayaelezea CPM Tui na time hairuhusu tena na sisi kuchambua, lakini angalau unaweza kusema kwamba sisi wahasibu, sisi auditors tuna mchango mkubwa sana kwenye hilo, na zaidi tunakwenda kwenye ile dhamira yetu iliyokuwa kama sisi wahasibu au accountants profession ambao ni auditors na accountants. Tuna ile kuserve the public, ile dhamira ya kuserve the public. Hiyo peke yake tumechangia kwa kiasi kikubwa kwenye uchumi wetu. Na zaidi mimi naweza nimeangalia kwa upande mwingine, nimeona kwenye issue ya kwamba sisi wahasibu au sisi auditors tuna ile requirement, ile statutory requirement zilizokuwekwa kwamba sisi tunatakiwa tufanye kazi zetu kwa kumiti mfano deadlines. Hiyo peke yake unapofanya kitu on time ambayo na hiyo inabidi hiyo ni mchango mkubwa katika uchumi kwa misi, kwa sababu unapofanya hivyo kwanza kila unapofanya kazi yako unakwenda katika right direction, unafanya kazi yako kwa sincere effort, unafanya kazi yako kwa kutumia ujuzi mkubwa. Hata kwa kufanya yote hayo kwa kuenda kwenye right direction tangu mwanzo unapoanza ile kazi yako unajua kwa hivyo hapo ni contribution kubwa kwenye uchumi wetu. Kwa hivyo hata kama wengine wanaweza wasituelewe, lakini kwa kweli lazima tuwe proud of ourselves kwamba sisi tumechangia kwa kiasi kikubwa kwenye uchumi wa kufikia hivyo. Kwa kitu chengine kwenye hiyo vile connection zetu na profession nyingine, kwa sababu sisi tunapofanya kazi yetu katika right direction, sio tu tunajisaidia sisi wahasibu kumiti zile labda financial statement kuzimit on time, lakini as well tunasaidia kwenye taxation kama ilivyosema, ili upeleke returns. Kazi yetu kwanza lazima iwe ya msingi, iwe ni nzuri. Kwa hivyo kwa kufanya hivyo inakuwa sisi tumechangia kwa kiasi kikubwa katika uchumi wetu. Kwa hivyo zaidi hapa naelezea, nimefocus zaidi kujitambua, kujielewa kwamba sisi kwa kweli tuna mchango mkubwa katika hiyo uchumi wetu wa Tanzania ulipofikia katika kiwango kilichofikia. Kitu kingine katika hapa, kwa sababu tunataka save zaidi time, nataka kusema kwamba sisi accountants, sisi auditors by implication na ile intention yetu imetufanya kwamba ni key partners. Siku zote tumekuwa ni key partners katika kila government agenda, katika kila sector, call it vovote unapopenda, lakini sisi ni key partners. Kama ni key partners, kwa hivyo tuna mchango mkubwa katika kufanya uchumi ulipofika. Na katika mfano katika hii tuchukulie tu mfano kwenye sekta ya tuliposema Tanzania nataka iwe Tanzania ya viwanda. Kitu gani tumecontribute hapo? Kwa sababu sisi ili kwenye Tanzania ya viwanda kuna aspect nyingi, lakini moja wapo ni investment, either iwe direct investment au iwe foreign investment. Lakini hapo tuna mchango wetu ili mtu aweze kufanya maamuzi sahihi, maamuzi mazuri ya kufanya investment, anahitaji awe na reliable information. Kwa hivyo anahitaji kwanza awe na information, na sio tu awe na information, awe na reliable information. Na hizo reliable information zinapatikana kutoka wapi? Kwa sisi auditors, kwa sisi wahasibu. Kwa hivyo sisi mchango wetu pia kweli tumechangia kiasi kikubwa kwenye kufikia uchumi wetu ulipofikia. Labda kwa sababu ya time naona nimemalizia hapa kwenye kuchangia kwenye na mengi, lakini nahisi for the interest of time kwenye topic hiyo labda niweze kumalizia hapo na ni shift kwenye kuhusu networking. Tayari nishakupongeza CPA Ruhani, lakini wacha ninachoweza kusema baada ya definition zote ulizotoa ni nzuri, tumeziona, lakini ninachoweza kusema zaidi kwangu mimi naichukulia networking is a kind of a support system. Networking ni support system towards development of our profession. Na vile mimi naichukulia networking is a kind of first aid. Vile tunapojua first aid, unaposema kuna first aid au kuna first aid kit kwenye nyumbani kwako, umeumwa na tumbo unaenda kuchukua dawa unakula, au umejikata ni first aid, lakini symptoms zikipersist unaenda kwa daktari. Kwangu mimi naichukulia networking is a kind of first aid. First aid kwa sababu ukiona sasa hichi mtu atakueleza, mfano juzi nilikuwa na network na mtu anaulizia what is the treatment ya labda ya vitabu kwenye university tunavitreat vipi, pale ilikuwa mfano ni first aid, mtu akajibu anaenda kwenye IPSAS 17, lakini kama unaona sijatosheka, lakini pale umetibiwa, hiyo ni first aid uliopata. Kwanza ushajua, ushakuwa relieved kwamba mambo ya IPSAS, mambo ya vitabu unavitreat under PPE, lakini under IPSAS 17. Lakini if you want more, ndo pale if symptoms persist, unakwenda kwa daktari. Kwa hivyo na wewe unahisi I want to know more about this PPE, then unakwenda kufungua kitabu chako kuona zaidi. Kwa hivyo mimi ndio maana nikasema networking is a kind of first aid. Kwa hivyo kwenye networking kama forum, sisi accountants inatusaidia kushare experience zetu, ishasema zamani, kushare difficulties zetu, pia kushare mambo yetu mazuri. Kitu chengine kwenye networking nasema kwamba haitoshi vile vile tumeelezewa mambo mazuri ya networking, lakini pia nasema kama alivyotuambia presenter kwamba haitoshi tu ku network, lakini tunatakiwa tuwe na productive networking. Na vipi tutakuwa na productive networking? Tutakuwa na productive networking if we accept challenge, we accept positive critics. Ni vile vile tuendelee kuwa na ile intention ya kukuza profession yetu. Kwa hivyo hapo tutakuwa tumeweza kuifanya networking iwe productive. We auditors, we accountants need to see love and create love by when networking. Sio tu kwa hivyo na ku-create, naposema ku-see and ku-create love is not necessary that we don't have to argue. Yes, we have to argue, but what is not allowed is to create hatred among ourselves while you are networking. Well, in any case, we should not abuse our networking. And we should appreciate that it is an opportunity to find means and solution to improve our quality in our profession, in anything we do. Kwa hivyo networking ni kind of improving quality ya kile tunachokifanya. Tunafanya vitu vingi kwenye profession yetu, lakini how to improve it through networking ukaweza kunini. Senior auditors and senior accountants tunahitaji kuwa mentor junior accountant. Kwa hivyo tutawamenta, you can mentor 1, you can mentor 2, you can mentor 3, but you can mentor many by networking. Especially za sasa hivi WhatsApp group. Kwa hivyo mimi nitakuwa ofisini kwangu, ndio nitakuwa na mtu mmoja nitamfundisha, ataniona ninapofanya kazi. Learn from me. Nimemeta yule, lakini hii networking tukifanya ambayo ya group kubwa hivi itawamenta wengi na tuta-improve nini profession yetu. Kwa hivyo vile vile kitu na point mbili za kumalizia. Moja, na kuna hisi mtakubaliana na mimi kwamba our profession is a global profession. Not only that, it is also blessed species. For that, kwa nini kawa ni most blessed? Kwa sababu it serves the public interest and it also touches every profession. It touches every industry. So it is the most blessed. Hata kama imekuwa blessed profession, sisi tufanye nini? Sisi accountants na wahasibu tunatakiwa ku-honor with this. And how to honor with this is to do our best. Kwa hivyo kila tunavyo networking tujitahidi kuweza kufanya kile kinachowezekana ili to honor that being blessed species. Katika cha mwisho cha kumalizia, labda katika muda nilopewa, nataka tuambie kweli tunataka tu networking, tuwe serious kwenye networking, lakini mimi nasema our profession is our world. Our profession is our world. And if our profession is our world, we have to live it and we have to enjoy it. So, and for that, while networking, we cannot be the whole day serious. Kwa sababu tunatakiwa, sababu ni ulimwengu wetu. Hasa kama ni ulimwengu wetu, haiwezi zote tuwe serious to business. Lakini cha kukumbuka sasa ni kwamba wakati tunavyosema tunataka kuenjoy, what is important is to keep the respect. When we are networking, what is important is to keep the integrity. Ilivyosema na Mr. Mkuu, to preserve the integrity ambayo tunayo wahasibu. Now, most important, to maintain our reputation as a professional accountants and auditors. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Mr. CPA Method Kashonda. I'm so much privileged to be here and have recap on the two papers presented by the two very nice presenters. I'll start with the first paper. But before I go to share my comments on the papers, I think first of all, back to the audience, I would like us to ask ourselves, is accounting a boring profession or is a profession to celebrate? Is it a boring profession or it's a profession to celebrate? Nyie mnaonaje? It's to celebrate, right? Yeah, that is good. So I first of all commend Tanzania Association of Accountants for actually picking these very interesting topics for today and actually bringing the accountants together here. As part of celebrating our profession, it's us coming together, taking our time off our desk and numbers, and come to look at strategic matters, to look at networking matters. This really is what is going to make a difference between the exposed accountant, the current accountant, and the accountant who are doing the business as usual. So, looking at the first paper, Celebrating the Middle Income Economy, is accountant and auditor's role well undertaken and recognized? My takeaway from the very good presentation made by Erastus Mkuu, CPA, first of all, he really touched, I would like to emphasize on what he touched on our challenge as accountants. Talking about our challenge in engaging, this challenge is real. Looking at the numbers of accountants who are here with the Tanzania Association of Accountants, just taking our time and be here to network and think outside what we do in our normal routine, I could really say our level of engaging is still low. So what we need to do is to take away from what we have learned today and go and show the changes in our work in terms of trying to engage more. And how are we going to really engage more? I think this links us from the first paper to the second paper where we think about how we network. Because when we have so much content, very good reports, but we don't know how to network with other people from other departments, we don't know how to engage other people, then our value as accountant is really not well celebrated, is really not well recognized. I'm actually comparing our profession with doctors. You see, when we have corona time, everyone wants to hear what the doctor says about the disease because it's a professional thing. So now we have this middle income economy. So when we have this middle income economy, I would presume that people in the street, people in the decision-making level, people in the parliament, every other decision maker from family level to high level to global level, they want to know what accountants are saying about the numbers. Are we really in the middle income level or not? Are we really going to stay here forever, or we'll go down, or we'll go up? So this is our time also to talk, to engage, to let people understand. Today I was listening to the news in the morning, and the people were talking about simenti na nini. Mwingine kila anatoa comment anasema kwa sababu kodi imeongezeka ndio maana simenti zimepanda, na mwingine anasema lakini kwani kodi imeongezeka nini? Kwa hiyo looking at those discussions, you see when we talk about economy, people want to know the facts about the numbers. So accountants, it's our time to try to feed the needs of our society. And then again, he touched on the strategic plan, the long-term strategic plan for the country. What are we really doing towards the strategy? My emphasis to us, I think as accountants, we really need to talk about strategy as much as possible. When we do our reports, when we do our meetings, when we talk about financial statement, we really have to touch the strategy as much as possible because that is what really matters. I'll try to link this with networking. We network even when we do the management meetings, when we do the audit briefings and so forth. At that point, people really want to have the facts from accountant, which touches the strategy. So someone will easily network when they have the content. So let's try to engage ourselves to understand more from the strategy to numbers, trying to link the numbers and the strategy so that when we are in the discussion, whether formal or informal, you can spot out that this is an accountant talking because the facts are touching the strategy together with the numbers, and this is what our people needs at various levels, hata huku tu mtaani au kwenye offices. And then he also recapped on we can run numbers and then we need to go and influence. So just for people to see the impact of accounts, we need to be good people who can influence. So for us to really be able to influence, as we engage and as we participate in various discussions, we have to come together. He mentioned about coming together. So I feel like we need to understand what other people are doing outside our profession, and then we will buy some things that they need in accounting side. Amesema Mama Rukia kwa mfano kwamba accounts is a profession which touches every other profession. So to be a good accountant, we need to know what other professions are doing in the area that we are dealing, so that our report will really touch what other people are doing, and then we just want at the end of the day to have numbers out of that. Take example in medical industry, we need to understand, and then if you are working in a medical industry, we need to know really what others are doing, what are the key challenges, alafu na wewe, you can influence, like what, given, for example, given the current challenge of corona maybe, or the current challenge of a certain disease, if you are working in that industry as an accountant, what is your input in the discussion so as to add value to the organization? And then that is all that I had for the first paper. And on the second paper, which was well presented by Sanjay, by CPA Sanjay, I really like the way he brought us back to really life, because we should never forget that accountants are normal people at the end of the day. It's not about your CPA or what, but it's about how you impact the world in wherever you're doing. So I really like the way he spoke about interacting. Like, let me read the topic about networking for profession and career advancement. So I like the way he was talking about networking and connection. You know, the network, wherever we do the networking, we should remember that there should be a bit of connection in our network for people to remember. Because we can think that we are networking by talking to people, but if the connection is missing, if something to connect is missing, then that networking does not last. I would like to share my example with someone I used to work with when I was in PwC back then. We were discussing about cat, and he said, okay, at my home place I have kittens because my cat has amezaa watoto, so I have the kittens. I said, oh, I really need one. And he said, okay, I'll bring to you one day. So he brought. So every time we have discussions, we talk about sasa kale kanyau kanaendeleaje, and then we speak our business. So there's something that we connect, but it creates a good rapport when it comes to a discussion. So whatever we are doing, most of the time, networking with connection helps to make our things or our connection last. So I would like you to really give another clap to the presenters for good topics. And I would like to say, before we say that we celebrate the middle income economy, let's first of all celebrate accounting profession. Let's celebrate accounting profession, and this will lead us to celebrate the middle income economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betha. Now we are going to ask you people to comment or ask questions. Remember, it is you connect or you network in order to fulfill your role in advancing this country to be beyond the middle income economy. Karibuni jamani. Yes? You mention your name and where you come from, and you go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Mary Ruhara. I'm coming from Tanzania Revenue Authority. particularly assistant lecturer at Institute of Tax Administration. Thank you, presenters, for your presentation, and I would like to add on networking. Special to accountants and auditors, I would like to add that we should consider networking as an investment. In what way? That the more you exchange ideas with colleagues, with friends, the more the return. So we should think outside the box, that when we exchange each other, there are some of the opportunities, unexpected opportunities can appear. So by you networking and also appearing, like for instance, professional exchange, exchanging each other some ideas, there are some more opportunities you can get from there. Also, we should consider staying in touch. Okay, you get connected, networking with someone here, and then you just keep silent and say, maybe I will find one day, I will try to find when I am in need. We should stay in touch. We should keep on communicating. Also, we should learn to say thank you. Perhaps you got an assistant for certain networking. Learn to say thank you, so that the other respondent can see how beneficial it is, and it shows a gratitude for showing some response. Also, as accountants and auditors, you know, we need to dress appropriately, which is obvious. Most of the time we do. It gives out a confidence, and being positive, you become more positive, and it will enhance your ability to being professional fellow to your colleagues. So in my views, I just wanted to add those few things. Thank you very much.
Wengine kule.
Good morning. My name is Selina Mkonyi. I'm from RSN Partners. My input is that since yesterday we have had two papers. One was by Mr. Uto, CPA Uto, and today by CPA Mkuu, which to me seem like they are trying to introspect accountants into finding who are they, because they have questions, like they're asking questions. Are we visible? Are we there? Are we moving with things that are moving around us? Are we left out? So I think the important thing is to see wale wahasibu wa Kalamazoo. I'm putting on glasses, because those times the accountants had to have glasses because of filling the numbers into those boxes. I don't think we are in that era. As a result, it is our onus as accountant to go forward, to venture. I would say in venture, because I'm going to all those topics. I'm not like on Rugani or Mtui or Uto. Generally on all those things. We have to venture, be multi-skilled, acquire new knowledge, so that we stand out in the crowd. It seems like we are left a unit. You know, even in the organization structures, you audit your accounts and you see the organization structure. We are not a directorate most of the time. We are a unit, reporting directly to the CEO. That is a role, an important role. You're almost a CEO, but we don't take it that way. We don't feel that way. We don't walk straight up to that. We think we are a department marginalized. As a result, I think we need to come out and enjoy the profession. Someone was asking, like Rukia was saying it, enjoy being an accountant and an auditor. An auditor is someone who checks something, and everybody fears auditor. But we don't feel like we seem like people who are feared. We actually fear others ourselves. So I think we need to change your mindset and walk up boldly, stand out. We are the ones who are commanding the economy. to come here and discuss a paper like, are we in the, how did we arrive at the middle income? We were the ones who put the country there. I think the other profession, we are cross-cutting. All over across the engineers, doctors, we hold the funds, the resources that enable others to shine. So why aren't we glittering? We are becoming that candle which just dies and leaves others to shine. We shouldn't do this. As accountants, we have to come out strongly, walk with our heads up. Everybody has to feel us. We are the ones who have the cash, aren't we? So please, let's kind of have this like, are we there? We are missed out in the policy formulation. How? To create a policy, you need funds. People have to go to a workshop and sit. You are the ones who pays. So why don't you look into that pot? What are these people sitting for? And that's how you acquire the skills of engineers, the architects. You become a multi-skilled. This, I think, is my input. If I have another thing, I will talk later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That sounded very passionate. And we don't need to be feared. We need to be loved. Sijasema hivyo kusema umesema vibaya, lakini to convey the notion. Tulivyoongea jana, unakumbuka? Kuna mtu mmoja hapa alizungumza kwamba auditors wamekuwa kama miungu, wanaogopwa. Tusiogopwe, lakini you are quite right about everything else. Now we'll have two more contributions because I think we are running out of time. Yes?
Asante sana kwa watu wa mada ambao wamewasilisha hapa siku ya leo, CPM Tui na mwenzake. Kwa ujumla tu nataka kuchangia kuwa sisi wahasibu na wakaguzi tunasherehekea katika uchumi wa kati ambao Tanzania imeingia, kuwa sisi ni wadau wakubwa sana katika swala hili. Tukiangalia katika majukumu mazima ambayo kama wahasibu tunafanya katika nchi hii, tunafanya majukumu makubwa. Tukiangalia katika budget ambazo wahasibu na wachumi wanaandaa hizo budget kwa ajili ya serikali na kuwasilisha bungeni. Kwa mantiki hiyo, sisi ni wadau wakubwa na tutakiwa tuwe na courage kubwa ya kufanya majukumu hayo kama wahasibu na kushirikiana na sales nyingine na professional ambazo wapo katika nyanja zetu tofauti tofauti. Hapo kiangalia sisi wahasibu vile tunaandaa mahesabu, daftari za hesabu kama final accounts, ambazo tunatoa tathmini jinsi gani kama wahasibu matumizi ya serikali yalivyotumika na mapato yalivyokusanywa katika serikali yetu. Vile tuna National Audit Office ambayo inafanya oversight na ukaguzi wa kina kwa matumizi, kuangalia value for money wa mahesabu yote ambayo yamefanyika katika sekta mbalimbali, tukiangalia katika nyanja za nchi yetu. Hivyo tukiangalia makusanyo makubwa ambayo yanafanywa na mamlaka mapato Tanzania. Hiyo yote ni sisi wahasibu, wakaguzi na watu wengine wote ambao tunashirikiana nao kwa kuwekeza skills zetu ili kufikia Tanzania yenye uchumi wa kati, na tunaendelea hivyo. Kwa hiyo kwa ndugu yangu huyu Sanjiri, hiyo yote ni mawasiliano, networking. Tunafanya networking katika sehemu tofauti tofauti. Kwa hiyo katika sekta moja au department na department nyingine au serikali au zile tunasema government organs zinawasiliana jinsi gani ya kuweza hizi professionals zikawa pamoja na kuweza kufikia the government goals. Kwa mchango wangu ni mkubwa, ni huu ambao nimetoa. Kikubwa sisi wahasibu tushirikiane na tufanye kazi kwa weledi wa hali ya juu, na tuache ile fear kama tunavyosema, tuwe open minded kwa kufuata professional skepticism. Asanteni sana.
Asante. One more this side.
Asante sana. Mimi kwa jina naitwa Victor Kamuntu, natoka Tanzania Automotive Technology. Mchango wangu kwanza namshukuru Erastus Mtui kwa mchango mzuri, lakini nina swali pia. Swali la kwanza alijaribu kueleza ni namna gani wahasibu sasa tushiriki kikamilifu hasa be involved. Kwa mfano ametoa mfano Afrika tuna era brand about 60%, kwamba lakini contribution in worldwide Africa ni era brand ipo, lakini contribution ambayo take the case ya Tanzania, contribution ya katika agriculture 70% ya Watanzania wanategemea kilimo. Ni namna gani sasa Watanzania wahasibu au wakaguzi tunakuwa involved katika kuutilize resources hizi ziko idle, kuweza kuzibadilisha zikasaidia jamii na nchi kwa ujumla. Ametupa swali tu kwamba we have a brand, so what should we do as a financier, as the auditors, as accountants? Do we have a financing model kuhakikisha hizi idle resources ambazo zipo, wakulima ambao hawezi kupata mikopo, badala na Sanjara atatusaidia, mtaalamu wa CEO wa benki, to have the model to make sure these financing activities, businesses are operating. Why? Sisi ni wataalamu wazuri wa finance, wa accountants. How far tumechukua jukumu gani kuhakikisha tunatengeneza model tu kuwasaidia policy makers, hawa kina mama, machinga, wafanyabiashara, tax, tunawasaidiaje kuhakikisha hii financing zinakuwepo kwa boost biashara? Kwenye kilimo, unaposoma kilimo hakuna mikopo. Tunakujaje na model za kusaidia hawa ambao zipo resources? Sisi wahasibu tupo, wakaguzi tupo, lakini namna gani kwenye policy tunakuwa involved? Ni mara ngapi Tanzania Association of Accountants tuko kwenye tax reforms? Ni mara ngapi tunakutana sisi wahasibu, tunatengeneza, tunashauri serikali, tunahakikisha hivi vitu tunapresent kuwasaidia jamii? Tunaweza tukabaki tunalalamika muda mrefu, lakini tusipoungana tukakaa kwa pamoja itakuwa ni ndoto. Kuna baadhi ya vitu vingi ambavyo kila mtu ajiulize ofisini tulipo, hapa tulipo, ni vitu gani vinatukwaza wahasibu? Mimi nadhani ni muda mwafaka leo, bahati nzuri tuna AGM, tuviweke sawa. Wahasibu na wakaguzi, not about numbers. Watu wanataka tafsiri numbers. What do you talk about financial statement? What do you mean by financial statement with the person ambaye maza form 4? Ni majukumu gani kila mtu amechukua kwenye taasisi zetu? Mhasibu financial zimetoka kuweza kutafuta tafsiri kwa wajasiriamali mdogo anayeuza vitumbua Kariakoo. Namna gani mhasibu as a professional CPA holder umechukua jukumu gani kutafsiri zile financial statements za quarter report za benki na nini, kueleza, hata kuomba kipindi kueleza, kutafsiri kwa mtu mdogo ambaye maliza form 4 anafanya biashara ziendi? That's about mchango wangu. Asante sana.
Nafikiri tumefika mwisho wa session hii. I believe we are going to the annual general meeting next. Let me take this opportunity once again to thank the presenters, Mr. Mtui and Sanjay, for very good presentations and exciting presentations. Let me also thank the discussants, Mama Rukia and Beruta, and all of you contributed to these topics. Do you want to react? Sorry. I nilikuwa nimekwenda too fast because the chairman was looking at me. I think it was giving me a signal that we need to go to the annual general meeting. Kwa hiyo labda niwape nafasi presenters wa make concluding remarks before we end this session. Thank you. Karibu Mtoi.
Asante sana. Nafikiri kwanza nishukuru sana kwa discussants, wametoa mawazo, wameongezea mawazo mengi na mapana, na kwa sababu ya muda sitaenda tena kuzungumza walichozungumza. Pia members. Mary amecomment vizuri sana kuhusu networking. Hata mimi nimefurahi kwamba network ni investment, ni kitu kizuri sana. Mama Selina pale, we should walk with our heads up. I think it's very correct na kuwa multi skills. Nafikiri ni vitu ambavyo tumevizungumzia ili sisi kama professionals wa kihasibu na kikaguzi tuweze kuongeza nafasi yetu. Jinsi gani tunashiriki kwenye budget, ndugu yangu pale nyuma pale, kuongeza makusanyo ya serikali na vitu vya namna hiyo. Na swali ambalo ndugu yangu pale, bahati mbaya sikupata jina lako, ni jinsi gani wahasibu na wakaguzi tuna financing models gani? Sorry, sauti yangu leo sio nani sana. Tuna financing model gani za kusaidia kwenye hizo kilimo? Tunahusika namna gani? Nikitafakari kwa haraka na niko na CPA Sanje hapa, anaweza kunisaidia zaidi, lakini inaanza na sisi. It starts with us. Sisi tusipo kuwa na ile urge ya kuwa na haya mabadiliko, na kuna comment moja nikasema we are as good as collectively, we are as good as we are as individuals. Sisi tusipokuwa wa mabadiliko chanya wenyewe kuanzia sisi, then collectively tunajipunguza. Hata kama kuna wawili, watatu, 10, 20, 100 milioni watakuwa wazuri, lakini yule ambaye hatakuwa vizuri atakuwa anapunguza. Kwa hiyo inakuja kwetu sisi. Sasa tukiangalia kwa mfano, and this is lending risk, benki wanachukua, akikopesha mtu hela zinarudi, kukopesha mtu zitatumika kwenye ile kitu kilichokuwa kinapaswa. Na sisi kama wahasibu na wakaguzi tunahakikisha vipi hivyo vitu vinatokea? Kuna vitu vya msingi na labda ni vya kitabia tunahitaji pia kuviaddress. Acha mambo ya elimu, ni ya msingi, lakini kuna vitu pia vya kitabia tunahitaji kama individuals to viaddress ili tuweze kutoka hapa tuliko. Ni vitu vya msingi sana. Tunalima mahindi hapa, nimesema Egypt. Na Egypt ni ruti ya maji tu. Tuna ruti nzuri ya maji, tuna bandari across $3.5 billion imports. Na I can tell you across Africa, kila tunachozalisha cha kilimo, kila zao la kilimo tunalolijua, kila nchi inalimport. Tunalima lakini tuna import kila zao. Mention one. I will spend time to give you data. Kila zao tunalolima sisi tuna import pia. Why? Kwa hiyo tuna changamoto, tunahitaji tutoke huko kwenye hizo mindsets. Na nafikiri these are the networking now and conversation that we can have kama professionals. Tukaja na hizo model sisi, na ni jinsi gani ya kuweza ku link up na bank, lakini hizo risk lazima tuziaddress. Na naweza kusema kwamba kuna mtu mmoja wiki aliniambia usemi mmoja mzuri sana. Alisema, ambao nitautumia kama kufunga. Alisema B is a simple housefly that has decided to take its business serious. So sisi ni nyuki, lakini kama nzi ambao tunahitaji kuchukua biashara yetu kuwa serious ili tuweze kutoka hapa tuliko. Tutengeneze asali. Asanteni.
I believe it's my turn, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So I think, first of all, fantastic insights and reviews from, participants. It actually, imenipa moyo. For my friend there, kuhusu, because you touched on lending and me being a banker, I mean, clearly in Tanzania we have some way to go. The good news is that there is a lot of work happening. The bankers and the central bank have now established something called a growth strategy committee, and we are looking at very important issues that are going to take the nation forward. I think he touched on tabia, which is a big issue. But to sort tabia, we need to have the right, we call them what? The speed breakers, so that the tabia doesn't go there. So we are, of course, putting a lot of effort on the Credit Reference Bureau. We are doing a lot of work on data, as we collect information from NIDA, because now, people can be tracked. We're also creating different funding models. Our balance sheets were largely short-term. We're creating long-term. You must have heard kwamba kuna banks ambazo zinaingia kwenye mifumo ya sustainable financing. These are really linked to agriculture lending. We also are working with the outreach models. Kwa mfano tunafanya kazi na Unilever, and Unilever does onward lending to farmers. Because microfinance is only 4% of the country. It's supposed to be so much more. So there's effort going on there. But there's judiciary system that needs to change. As somebody is a pain, you need to sort the pain fast. So those models are very important to take care of. So I know it's a dream, but I'm just telling you that there's enough people who have started working on it, and this is a time where things should shift, and it's very critical. For my friend ameongea kilimo, I think Tanzania needs to get much more involved in commercial farming. If you take any global average, not the best country, versus Tanzanian output, and you being accountants, we can actually get 5x more if you get into commercial. So, when he's saying that, we have so much opportunity, it is really massive. And then you will say, so to get to 5x, you need lending. So I think there is work to be done to get together. From my side, I just want to shift from being Sanjay to now the chair of IFAC, Professional Accountants in Business Advisory Group. So IFAC, I don't know how many of you actually go to IFAC. You are actually all members of IFAC by default because you are an accountant. You should go spend time into what IFAC is doing. The committee that I work on is mandated to impact 3.5 million accountants, which includes all of you across the world. We have a committee. I'm the first Tanzanian to chair it globally. I've been a chartered accountant for many years. I've done a CFO role and many other things. So what are we doing? At the moment, we are contributing to strategic matters, which impact the accountancy profession. We also influence things like standard setting. We influence, the whole big decision makers like G20, B20, the UN, IMF, World Bank. We spend time with them. And then we also do a lot of outreach. Outreach is about working with the professional accountancy bodies and sharing best practices. So big things on our mind at the moment is how can the finance profession, and I love what my friend from RSM said, how can finance professional become a much more stronger person in the boardroom? And that can only happen if you shift your mind from you're not doing the role, but you're delivering to the business, or you are contributing to the business, not to your role. And you can further elevate that to say you're contributing to not the business, but the nation, or you're contributing to the world. So the important things on our mind is, strategy. How does a finance professional really become an inherent part of decision making, which means much more data? How do we contribute to sustainable development goals? Remember, the country has signed a commitment that by 2030 we have all these goals to achieve. So there's work to be done there. With the world being so volatile at the moment, where countries are becoming much more nationalistic in their approach, outlooks, you actually as a nation and as a global world, we are embracing much more risk at this time. So it's very important that at this time the finance professional is there to demonstrate what is the inherent risk in the business, in the economy, in the nation. So there's more work to be done there, of course, and we're putting up best practices. So that's why you'll see a much more effort on integrated reporting, integrated thinking, because we need to start looking at different numbers that connect to financial numbers. The accountants of the future will be best valued if you are able to connect the different data sets with the real numbers, because that's how you will help in decision making. The other thing we're talking about is what's the role of the accountant on COVID-19? If you go to IFAC website, on the 3rd of this month, I published a small newsletter, which was based on our last meeting, and it's all talking about the role of the accountant in the whole technology world, in COVID-19, and we are also talking about solving bigger problems for this world. So I really like that, we are in the crossroads. This is the time for the accountant to become a much more integral part of contributing to the world, to the economies, and really to the businesses. We need to change our mindset from being bookkeepers or just accountants doing numbers to really contributing to businesses. So I can only tell you, be excited, own your space. Own your space. Muda ni wetu. Own your space. Thank you.
Okay, Beta would like to say something. Quickly, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'll hardly spend 1.5. I'm really touched by what Victor Kamuntu has touched on the gap that we have when it comes to agriculture. With this middle income economy, we know that agriculture is one of the key opportunities that we have, but really the gap that Kamuntu has raised is existing. From my experience in auditing some of the aquaculture businesses, I have realized most of the time as the individual accountants, we don't really take care of biological assets. I know we have studied, but maybe it's high time now for Tanzania Association of Accountants to consider in planning the topic, maybe for the public or for accountants, to discuss and refresh more on biological asset requirements. Because the challenge that we are really facing affects people, for example, those who are retiring. They take money to the farm. It changes from asset as cash, it goes to biological asset. But its accounting is, when it is poorly done, you see like the money is wasted, but it has been invested, but the accountant does not account it properly, then it becomes like a waste. So we have to look at that gap and see how we plan it in a long way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mesha washukuru presenters, ni washukuru na nyinyi for being awake na ku contribute na sasa ni shukuru TAA for giving me this opportunity to chair this session na niwatakie kila la heri. Thank you.
Asante sana Mzee Kashonda, mwenyekiti wa session hii. Jamani, nadhani wote kwa pamoja, presenters, mwenyekiti, discussants, wamefanya kazi nzuri. Sasa nategemea tuwapigie makofi kabisa ya shukrani makubwa sana, na wote tusimame, alafu tusimame tu stretch pia. Tupige makofi makubwa sana kwa ajili ya presenters wetu, na asanteni sana, tukae. Sasa wakati namkaribisha mwenyekiti hapa juu, mwenyekiti wa TAA, na wakati session iliyopita wakiondoka, nitaomba nimkaribishe mwenyekiti wa TAA awepo hapa, lakini pia nimkaribishe mkurugenzi wetu wa projects and programs CPA Ezekiel Steven aweze kutupitisha dakika 5 tu. Mtusamehe kweli ratiba yetu imekuwa ina extend, lakini kwa sababu ya uzuri wa pepa zenyewe hutamani kutosikia kila neno linalosemwa. Kwa hiyo nikukaribishe CPA Ezekiel uweze kusema kwa dakika 5, strictly 5 minutes. Karibu sana.
Habari ya asubuhi. Mimi naitwa CPA Ezekiel Steven, ni mkurugenzi wa miradi na mipango ya Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania. Nilikuwa naomba kabla mjaenda kupata breakfast niwaibie kama dakika 3 ama 5 hivi ili tuweze kuzungumza kuhusu Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania. Lakini kabla sijaendelea, labda niende Sanjay way. Sawa? Nifanye presentation kama Sanjay. By raise of hands, watu wangapi ni member wa TAA? Okay, fine. Kwa hiyo nadhani presentation yangu ni muhimu kwa sababu kuna watu ambao si member wa TAA. Kwa hiyo mimi kazi yangu hapa ni kuuza. Niko katika kazi ya kukiuza chama. Okay. Kwa hiyo Tanzania Association of Accountants ambayo katika mkutano huu ndio mwenyeji wetu ni chama kikongwe. Mara nyingi tunapopita huko katika kazi ya kukizungumzia chama kuna dhana kwamba labda tunazungumza kuhusu habari ya kitu kipya, lakini Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania ni chama kikongwe, kilianzishwa mwaka 1983 na baadhi ya waanzilishi wa chama hichi wengine bado wapo na wengine tuko nao humu ndani. Kwa mfano mzee Kashonda nadhani ametoka, lakini na mzee Busigala unaweza ukasimama ama ukanyosha mkono. Lakini kuna wengine ambao hawapo. Maarufu sana ni ndugu yetu Reginald Mengi, ni mojawapo wa waanzilishi wa kwanza kabisa wa Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania. Kuhusu status yake na recognition, hichi ni chama ambacho kimesajiliwa katika sheria ya taasisi zisizo za kiserikali, lakini vile vile inatambulika kwenye sheria ya NBAA, na kwenye sheria ya NBAA, Tanzania Association of Accountants, ina representation, yani kwenye ile bodi ya NBAA kwa kaida kunakuwa na board members 5 ambao wanatoka Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania. Sasa Chama cha Wahasibu kama chama, kwanza ni tofauti gani? Kuna tofauti gani kati ya Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania na National Board of Accountants and Auditors? Hili ni swali ambalo mara nyingi ninaulizwa. Kwa hiyo nilipenda kidogo nitoe hiyo tofauti kwamba National Board of Accountants and Auditors ni regulator, ni taasisi ya serikali, kwa hiyo yenyewe ni serikali. Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania ni chama cha hiari cha wahasibu wote, na hasa sisi, ukitaka kuelewa vizuri, role yetu sisi ni kama wazazi. Kwa hiyo mchukulie mzazi wako, whether ni baba ama ni mama, basi Chama cha Wahasibu Tanzania ni kama wazazi wa taaluma hii ya uhasibu. Kwa hiyo kama mzazi, Chama cha Wahasibu kina roles kubwa 4. Role ya kwanza ni kwamba we are providers. So we provide some services, some advisory services and career growth services to our members. But we are also protectors of the profession. Kwa hiyo tuko kuangalia maslahi ya profession ya wahasibu. Vile vile tuna play advisory role. We are advisors to the accountants and auditors, but we are also disciplinary agents. Basically, those are the 4 roles that we play as an association of accountants. Those are our governing principles: unity, equity, transparency, accountability and volunteerism. Sasa hapa ningependa kudwell kwenye ile ya mwisho zaidi, kwamba kazi zetu nyingi ni kazi za kujitolea, ikiwa na maana kwamba hata hichi cheo changu kizuri kilichotajwa hapo ni kazi ya kujitolea vile vile. Kwa hiyo nichukue nafasi hii kuwakaribisha wahasibu kwamba mnakaribishwa kujitolea kwa ajili ya kazi ya chama. Jinsi ambavyo chama kinaendeshwa, governance ya chama iko kwamba juu kabisa pale kuna AGM, Annual General Meeting, ambayo baada ya mimi kuzungumza na mwenyekiti kuzungumza, nadhani tutaingia kwenye masuala ya Annual General Meeting. Hicho ndio chombo cha juu kabisa katika uendeshaji wa chama, na maamuzi yote yanapitishwa katika Annual General Meeting. Then chini ya Annual General Meeting tuna Governing Council. I'm a member of Governing Council, lakini vile vile there are some members akiwepo mzee Busigala na watu, we have got a number of members. Kama mliangalia vizuri jana walikuwa wamekaa. So, kwa hiyo hii katika organization ya kawaida ni kama bodi ya wakurugenzi. And the governing councils, we have got 4 committees. Mimi natoka kwenye committee inahusiana na masuala ya planning and strategy. Then under committees tuna secretariat, na kiongozi wa secretariat ni yule dada jana ambaye tulikuwa tunampa mkono wa hongera, Winnie. Sijui kama dada Winnie upo hapa, nadhani atakuwa yuko nje hapo. Kwa hiyo generally hivyo ndio jinsi ambavyo chama kinaendeshwa. Sasa kwa sababu baadaye huko nitaenda kuwaomba mjiunge na chama, ni vizuri vile vile nikazungumzia baadhi ya faida ambazo mtu anaweza akazipata akiwa mwanachama. Kuna faida nyingi za kuwa mwanachama. Ni kwamba tunatoa ushauri mbalimbali wa jinsi ya kufanya kazi, lakini vile vile ushauri wa kitaalamu kwenye different accounting standards na masuala ya kodi. Vile vile tunafanya seminars mbalimbali zinazohusiana na professional development. Kwa mfano seminars, tutakuja kuona namba ya seminars ambazo tunafanya, lakini tunaendesha kwa wale wahasibu wanafunzi ambao they aspire to become professional accountants. Tuna kitu anaita mentorship program, ambayo hii tuna connect between wale wanaotaka kuwa mentored na mentors. Na kuna baadhi ya watu walikuwepo mwaka jana tulifanya hiyo pale NBAA. Lakini we have a number of other services that we are giving. Lakini finally pale chini kabisa utaona kwamba vile vile tunatoa platforms kwa ajili ya networking. Tumediscuss kuhusu about networking, na kwenye networking tuna a number of activities. Tuna kitu wanaita wiki ya uhasibu, ambayo kama jana wale waliokuwepo jana waliona zile activities zilizoonyeshwa kwenye slide za kwenda kutembelea sehemu mbalimbali, ilikuwa katika wiki ya uhasibu. Lakini vile vile tuna dawati la mhasibu, ambayo professional accountants wanakutana na general public and we give what is referred to as pro bono services. Lakini finally, na hii naomba wahasibu wote waliokuwa hapa wakitoka waende wakawaambia wenzao kwamba nadhani mwanzo wa mwaka kesho tutakuwa na kitu wanaita Mhasibu Fund Run. Fund Run hii ni kama a fund marathon ambayo wahasibu wanakutana kwa pamoja na tunakimbia kama sehemu ya networking. Kwa hiyo mnakaribishwa sana. Baadhi ya programs and projects that we are doing, we provide education on financial management and financial accounting to the public. Tunatoa trainings za financial reporting standards mbalimbali and public sector accounting standards. Vile vile tunatoa training zinazohusiana na masuala ya corporate governance, taxation and tax compliance. We give advice to on accounting system. Lakini vile vile tuna connect employers na employees. Kwa hiyo mara nyingi tunapata kazi kutoka kwa employers kuwasaidia kutafuta wahasibu. Na our last client nadhani alikuwa ni TTCL. Kwa hiyo vile vile one of the benefits that you can get if you are a member of TAA, you can be connected to your prospective employer. Okay. Kuhusu membership, we have got two types of membership. We have got individual membership, lakini vile vile tuna corporate membership. Individual membership ni individual members, na corporate membership ni makampuni. Kwa hiyo nilikuwa ninawaomba wale ambao sio wanachama wa TAA, tutakapotoka hapa tukifika pale kwenye desk letu pale nje, utawakuta watu ambao wanaweza kukusaidia. Now, how do you become a member? To become a member unatakiwa uwe na sifa gani? Tunasema ili uwe member unatakiwa uwe unahusika kwa vyovyote vile kwenye profession ya accountants. Kwa hiyo unaweza ukawa ni mwanafunzi, Unaweza ukawa mhasibu ambaye bado huja kuwa professional accountant ama ukawa ni professional accountant. Wote tunawakaribisha, na utaratibu wa kuwa member ni kwamba unajaza form alafu unalipa shilingi 20,000 kwa ajili ya application fees, lakini vile vile tuna categories 2 tu kubwa. Kategori ya kwanza ni ya wale wahasibu ambao wako makazini ama wana mimi. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza. Niwakaribishe wale ambao sio wanachama kujiandikisha na kuomba wanachama. Asanteni sana.
Okay, nimalizia. Okay, wanafunzi manake ni wale ambao wako mashuleni wale ambao hawajapata kazi lakini wahasibu wataingia kwenye kategori hii kategori ya pili, na ndo moja katika benefit ambazo Ezekiel amesema kwamba tunatumia TAA ina connect pia wahasibu hao ambao hawajapata kazi na waajiri watarajiwa. Kwa mfano tunao watu washiriki wengi kwenye mkutano wetu ambao wako kwenye taasisi mbalimbali. Amesema taasisi ya mwisho ilikuwa TTCL, lakini tunazo nyingi ambazo TAA imewalinki na hao waajiri. Kwa hiyo hao wanaingia kwenye bendi sio ya wanafunzi, bendi ya wahasibu. Lete 50. Asante sana. Asante sana mzee Busigala. Asante sana ndugu zangu wahasibu na wakaguzi ambao tumeendelea kwa wote, nadhani tutakuwa wote mpaka jioni. Naomba niseme maneno machache then tuende kwenye chai. Baada ya chai turejee kwa ajili ya mkutano wetu ambao ni mkutano muhimu sana. Katibu mkuu alisema jana kwamba mhasibu yoyote anaruhusiwa kushiriki, na kwa kuwa tunaamini kwa maelezo mazuri ambayo mkurugenzi ameyatoa hapa, naamini wote tulio hapa ndani tutajaza fomu, tutakuwa wanachama kuanzia leo. Jambo la kwanza ambalo lazima mimi nikiri kwamba tuliopo ukumbini hapa ndani wote, kila mmoja ameadmit haja ya sisi wahasibu kuja pamoja. Kila mmoja ameadmit. Na nashukuru Sanja ameiweka vizuri sana. Wakati fulani unakuwa una nia ya kutaka kuja ama unaogopa, niwaambieni hakuna siri ya mafanikio zaidi ya kuja pamoja kujadili changamoto zetu. Jana Nchimbi alisema opportunity haiji yenyewe, opportunity tunaigrab. Kama hatutakuwa na effort za kugrab opportunities, tutaendelea kuwa tunalalamika kila siku ya Mungu. I'm happy, nimesema I'm happy kwa sababu tunakwenda kwenye direction sahihi. Mwaka jana tulikuwa na AGM, tulikuwa wachache. Mwaka huu mkutano umehudhuriwa na zaidi ya washiriki 200. Lakini Jumanne ya wiki hii Chama cha Wahasibu kwa kushirikiana na Chama cha Wahasibu wanawake na NBAA waliandaa dinner event kusherehekea siku ya uhasibu duniani. Tunasema uhasibu ulianza baada ya baba yetu wa uhasibu kutoa principle hii ya double entry. Ulianza tarehe 10 Novemba mwaka 1494. Kwa kila tarehe 10 Novemba tuna celebrate siku ya wahasibu duniani. Kwenye dinner event kulikuwa kuna washiriki zaidi ya 150. Sasa ukichukua ushiriki wa wahasibu zaidi ya 150 kwenye dinner event, ushiriki wa wahasibu zaidi ya 200 kwenye mkutano wetu huu, lakini mkutano wetu tunaendelea nao uko live covered, yani kwa maana ya kwamba walioko manyumbani wanaufuatilia. kuna followers kwa mkutano wa jana asubuhi, mchana, tunapoendelea sasa, zaidi ya watu 1800 wanaofuatilia mkutano. Naamini hawa watu 1800 na zaidi, kama basi si wahasibu, basi wengi watakuwa ni wahasibu. Kuna simu zinapigwa toka South Africa, Watanzania walioko South Africa wanasema tumeacha kufanya shughuli, tunafuatilia mkutano. Lakini lilo zuri zaidi, last week nilikuwa naongea na CAG CPA Kichere, aliniuliza TAA mnayo capacity? Mimi nikamjibu nikamwambia sisi hatuna capacity, sisi ni matajiri. Nadhani mtakubaliana jawabu langu. Presentation ambazo zimefanywa kuanzia jana, tukianza na pepa ya kwanza ya maneno, wakati fulani nasema maneno yamemaliza, maana yake yamemaliza kila kitu Alipokuja Renata, unaona kama vile naye, yani maana yake ukaanza kwa maneno Renata, ukaja kwa mzee Uto, ukaja kwa mzee Nchimbi, ukaja kwa David Nchimbi ukaja kwa dada Sandra, leo amekuja Erastus na Sanje. Unaona kabisa how we accountants we are rich. Lakini inaonekana tunao utajiri ambao hatuutumii kwa sababu maybe hatufanyi hizi gatherings za namna hii kujadiliana mawazo. The same last week nilikuwa na kikao kifupi na Meja Jenerali Matthew Edward Mkingule ambaye alikuwa tuwe naye hapa, na kimsingi anasikitika kukosa nafasi kwa sababu yeye ni mwanajeshi. Baada ya kuwa amepata kibali cha kuja hapa, akapewa maelekezo na viongozi wake kuwa awepo Arusha siku ya jana. Lakini pamoja na mengine kwamba alikuwa anasisitiza haya ambayo wenzetu wameyasema leo, kwa maana ya kwamba namna yetu ambavyo tunauona uhasibu na taaluma yetu nchini, wote tunaona katika namna moja. Itoshe sasa, baada ya mkutano huu, sisi wahasibu tuache kufikiri kwamba sisi ni makarani. Tuache kufikiri kama sisi ni watu wa kusubiri malipo yafanyike. Yani maana yake ni kwamba tuonekane tu wakati wa kufanya malipo. In fact, kama tunatokea wakati wa kufanya malipo, msitegemee kuchukua nafasi kubwa kwenye taasisi. Sasa taasisi hailipi tu. Taasisi lazima strategize. Njoo uje na mikakati, shiriki, uwe partner kwenye mikakati. Namna gani organization itaongezeka? Amezungumza Sanje hapa. Ukiangalia nini ambacho integrated report inataka sisi accountants, kila tunaporipoti tulipoti namna ambavyo tumecreate value kwa stakeholders. Usiende pale kutimiza majukumu yako ya nafasi yako. Angalia una mchango gani kwenye kuipeleka taasisi mbele. Automatically utakuwa. So nategemea next year tutakuwa na CEOs wengi ambao ni wahasibu. Maana yake ni kwamba kama tunataka kukua, moja, tuangalie kwa wenzetu waliokuwa, lakini pili, tu change mindset zetu. Usidhani kazi yako ni kufanya malipo yamekwisha, you are safe, unakwenda nyumbani, unapumzika, unakwenda mahali, unakwenda kunywa juisi ya ubia. Tuwe sehemu ya kumuvu taasisi zetu. Tumesema tunatumia forums za TAA kucelebrate. Naomba niseme kwa mwaka jana tulifanya wiki ya uhasibu, tuliifanya mwezi wa 3. Tulikuwa na program ya mentorship, was very good. Na bahati njema sana tumemaliza program, ikatoka tangazo la corona. Mwaka huu tunaifanya wiki ya uhasibu pamoja na mataifa mengine duniani. Mwaka jana tulichelewa, tulifanya mwezi wa 3. IFAC ina wiki ya uhasibu wiki ya pili ya mwezi Januari. Kwa tunategemea wiki ya pili ya mwezi Januari tutakuwa na wiki ya uhasibu. Ni wiki ambayo tutafanya mambo mengi, lakini moja kubwa ambao ni waombe mliopo hapa ndani na wale ambao tusikiliza huko walipo. Kwanza ni ushiriki. Lakini pili, mwaka huu tutaongeza kitu kingine. Mkurugenzi anasema juu ya Finland, lakini pia tutakuwa tuna bonanza, kwa maana ya kwamba tutakuwa na mechi za kushindana we professionals na organization. Kwa mfano, TAA tayari wameshathibitisha timu yao ya mpira wa miguu na timu yao ya netball. NBA wamethibitisha timu yao ya miguu na netball. na uhakika Ernst & Young pia wameshathibitisha. Kwa hiyo kama kuna taasisi ambazo zinapenda kushiriki, nadhani kamati itatoa matangazo baadaye, kwa maana ya kwamba tutakuwa tuna michezo netball, football, lakini pia tutakuwa tuna funland. Apart from that, tutaandaa mentorship program. Hii itakuwa ni kwa juniors kushare issues na seniors. Lakini naiona haja pia ya sisi wahasibu kuwa na kitu tena kujadili kitu cha namna hii. Jana tulikuwa na mgeni rasmi, tulikuwa tunafikiri, nadhani tutaweza kuifanya pia ikawa ni mhasibu wote kushiriki, kwamba namba ya wabunge ambao ni wahasibu imeongezeka. Kwa tunafikiria kuandaa forum like this, inawezekana ikawa hapa tukawaleta wao na sisi wengine tukaja hapa, tukaja kujadili mustakabali wa uhasibu. Tuko wapi? Tunaona tunaelekea wapi, lakini njia sahihi ya kwenda ni wapi? Kwa ni waombe tu, tunapoondoka hapa, mosi, ambao si wanachama chama cha wahasibu, tujiunge kuwa wanachama cha wahasibu. Lakini pili, tuende kuwa mabalozi, kwa maana ya kwamba tuende tukawashirikishe wenzetu nini ambacho tumekiona kwa siku hizi mbili. Naamini baada ya mkutano mkuu leo kuisha, tutakuwa ni wahasibu wa tofauti ambao tutapenda kunetwork na vitu vingine. Kwa hiyo tunategemea kuwa na wiki ya uhasibu tarehe 11 Januari mpaka tarehe 15 Januari. Kutaanza, nafikiri tutaendelea kuwasiliana, lakini walau naomba hiyo tarehe muikumbuke, kwenye dawati zenu mweke. Kama huwezi kushiriki michezo, njoo twende tukaona watoto yatima. Kama hauta nafasi kwenda watoto yatima, njoo twende hospitalini tukawafariji wagonjwa. Hiyo ndo maana halisi ya kuwa taaluma ambayo inagusa maisha ya watu. We are the profession ambayo tuna serve public interest. Naomba nimalize sasa kwa kuwataka au kuwaomba twende kwenye chai. Baada ya chai turejee. Sasa hivi tumechelewa, of course, tutafikiri tumia dakika 20 kwa chai. Turejee saa 7 kasoro dakika 10 ili tuendelee na mkutano wetu tuweze kumaliza mapema. Asanteni sana.